Who's this person? And the handwritten
Yeah, that's me.
Gammers.
Well, first grandchild gets to pick the name. That's
yes,
just how
that's
it goes.
True.
Yeah.
That is true. I am the often imitated, but never truly Gammers. I am Tad's mother, and Tad is Remington's father. I grew up in below the Mason-Dixon line. Small farming town with no stoplights in the lowest, we call it the lower, slower Delaware, LSD. And it's about 30 miles below Dover, which was the capital, is the capital. And the eldest of 3 children. I was followed by a brother in the middle and a sister at the end, 5 years my junior. Was definitely my father's favorite, and could identify myself if I was riding my bike or roller skating as Raymond Short's little girl. The church, my father was the organist and the choir director in St. Mary's Episcopal Church. And I truly believe that along with loving to be anywhere my dad was, that I really loved church. My mother was a fallen away Catholic and always assured me that when I had read enough and studied enough, that I too would consider Jesus just a great teacher. But that never happened. It puzzled her, and she would say to me on more than one occasion, I don't understand you and your religion. I was not the daughter she wanted, but my sister was, so that was the good thing for my sister and for my mom. They had each other.
Yeah, they were very close then?
Mm-hmm.
And you were really close with your dad? Do you think Cal was particularly close with either of them?
I think he was close to both of them, because I think he had my father's sensibilities, but he was in some ways very much my mother. And of course his life as a gay man was fraught with difficulties. And I was told when Cal was sent to the choir school, you know, I remember saying to her, but what if I want to go to private school? Well, you can't. Well, why does Cal get to go and I don't? Because this is what happened. What my mother told me, that when Uncle Edward went to war, the Second World War, that like a lot of men, spending a lot of time with other men, determined that they preferred men to women. So he came back and divorced his wife immediately, and then proceeded to use Daniel's son, who proceeded to use my brother. So for my mother, the terrible irony was she thought she was doing the best she could. Cal got a scholarship to go to the choir school. It was like throwing a kid from the fire, from the frying pan into the fire. Then he went to Johns Hopkins. Didn't see much of him. Then his disease, ulcerative colitis, was diagnosed, and he was very ill. He had wanted a career in politics. And my mother felt that being homosexual, that would really reduce his chances. So he got a major in fine arts from Johns Hopkins, and he got a job in Boston. And he lived there at the same time Priscilla was at Harvard, so they got much closer, which was fine. I was a young mother, I was busy. I didn't see that much of them. And I was later to find out that that's when life got hard for him. And he chose to not come visit me for fear that if something happened with the boys, that I would be blamed. And so I didn't see him for a good 10 years. He finally came, must have been 1988, 89, and had a wonderful time with the boys and Andrew, because by that time Andrew Myers was living with us. And then then started to see him making an effort to go to DC. By that time he moved on to DC. And really came to understand that this is a culture that I know nothing about. A culture that I should at least make some effort to learn about, because someone I love very much is involved in it. Then he decided to move to Florida, only to be very unhappy there. I remember going down and seeing him there, and he got sick again. The ulcerative colitis flared up again. And I went with him to the hospital and stayed down there. It became real obvious to me that he was really hooked on the drugs they were medicating him with. And the only reason I mention that is that when I tried to complain about it, he informed me that I had no business putting myself in his life like that. So which I withdrew. And then he decided he wanted to follow Jim to Tulsa. So he did. And then that was that must have been 1995, because my mother died. I think it united us in a way that loss does. As I was getting older, I thought, he's all the way in Tulsa. Priscilla was now in Chicago and moving back to DC. So I thought, we should really spend more time together. We're all we've got. So I organized a trip to Tulsa twice with Priscilla and myself. But he was always there. He'd call me once a week. Oh, I know, one of his questions was, Eileen, do you wake up in the morning and think, what can I do that Mother would not have done, ever? And I said, what? He said, well, I just wondered if you thought that way. And no, I'm too busy being my crazy self to think about, am I being different than my mother? Cal was more interested in what was going on, what I was planning, what I was doing in the garden. And I interested in what he was doing. He was a sweet, thoughtful human being. And I think he did make a big difference in the lives of those who knew him. And I miss him.